Andy Mitten is editor of United We Stand. He's on the line now. Evening, Andy.
Good evening.
Solskjaer, in fairness to him there, is reasonably calm. He's not losing his head in any great way. Is that in general keeping with how he dealt with the defeat yesterday?
Yeah, he speaks quite well, whether win or lose, but it doesn't reflect the mood among United fans after a pretty awful performance. Another one at West Ham, the third one in successive seasons. The 3-1 defeat last season probably saw Jose Mourinho lose 10% of the support. The season before was a dreadful 0-0 game. And I don't think United fans were too optimistic about beating a good West Ham team ahead of the game yesterday. Probably weren't against Leicester the week before. But while they scraped to win against Leicester, they were well beaten by West Ham. And I've written a lot about a fragile confidence because there's definitely quality issues there. There are injuries as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But there are quality issues there, and there's been this fragile confidence, and it takes baby steps. It builds up a little bit, and then they lose a game, as they did against Palace, as they did against West Ham, and it comes crashing in. And this Manchester United soap opera, a lot of people love to watch it, especially when United lose matches as well. You get this big cloud enveloping the mood when they've lost a game. It used to be when they drew a game, but expectations have dropped away in the last couple of years. The bottom line is it's just not good enough. Manchester United are one of the biggest clubs in the world. They shouldn't be 8th in the table. And yes, Tottenham, they've also got 8 points. I think Chelsea has as well. And Wolves, who people were saying could go past Manchester United, they've not won a game all season. It could be much worse, but fans will always look closer to home where it matters most. And this team has been unconvincing so far. I don't think anyone expected the team to even challenge for the title, but they need to see some positives. And they have come. The free signings have been decent signings, which Ole Gunnar made. The youth system is much improved on 4 years ago, certainly since I wrote a piece in 2015 highlighting the shortcomings. But you can build for the future, but you still need results in the present. And this is the worst start to the season since David Moyes and Louis van Gaal both got 8 points from the first 6 matches. But after those 6 games, Moyes' team won 4 and drew 1 of the next 5 games. I can't see this Manchester United team winning 4 and drawing 1 of the next 5 games. People talk about finishing 4th. To finish 4th, you've still got to go on some good runs. You've still got to beat good teams. And I'm not convinced that this United team can do it, especially when they keep picking up injuries. So it's a worrying time. There has been a lot of knee-jerk reactions around, as there is with any Manchester United defeat, but a lot of the worries are well-founded.
Andy, what jumped out at you as the most worrying aspects of the performance on Sunday?
That West Ham probably had better players than Manchester United. Ole Gunnar talked about the lack of execution before goals, before a lack of goals. They're not creating the chances either. I know there were a couple of chances yesterday, but United had scored 1 goal in each of the previous 5 matches. I think they've scored 16 in their last 17 games. It's nowhere near good enough. Okay, Martial's injured. Mason Greenwood's good prospect. He wasn't able to play. Marcus Rashford doesn't look like a number. He doesn't look like a Manchester United centre-forward. And I know he's got talent. I know he's got pace. I know he stretches teams. I know that Pep Guardiola will take him above every Manchester United player, and he knows a lot more about football than I do. I know that Barcelona are watching him because I wrote the story, and they know how to do the jobs. But if you play up front for Manchester United, you've got to score goals, and he's not scoring anything like it, as many goals as he needs to. He's still young. He's scored some great goals. He's provided the best moment of this calendar year for Manchester United with that penalty in Paris. But when the team are losing to West Ham, and they deserve to lose to West Ham, and when the team are 8, at the start of the season, there are statistical anomalies, but the way it's looking at the moment, this team looks like they're going to be 8th after 20 matches. And that's just not good enough for a club. You've got the 2nd highest wage bill in world football. Something's going badly wrong here. Now, what's going wrong? The recruitment has been poor in the last 6 years. They are trying to right some of the wrongs. I actually like what Ole Gunnar is doing. I will be patient with him. I will support him. He needs support. if he can bring another 3 good players in the next transfer window, then we should see significant improvements. But he still needs to be getting results in the short term, because every time they don't, it'll kick off as it has done.
Yeah, it's difficult on a whole host of fronts. As you said, this is not just a new problem. It's 6 years of poor management at a higher level. If you look at the form, The Guardian teased it out and it crystallised it very nicely. So since that PSG win, it's been 5 wins, 4 draws, 10 defeats in all competitions. And if you just take Premier League form, then going back to that PSG win, Premier League form, it's 1-4, draw 4, lost 7, or 16 points from 15. They say transpose that across a 38-game season and it makes 40.5 points, which is close to relegation form. I mean, things really have evaporated since that PSG night, really. You often have a sense of how things are behind closed doors in so much as anyone can. What's the feeling on Solskjaer amongst the squad?
He's still popular. He's a popular, hard-working, decent human being who's not spreading poison around. I saw that stat. I wrote that stat myself soon after the game yesterday.
Right.
Because I've been at these matches, and a lot of them have not been pretty. The end of the season was terrible. It was as bad as PSG away was good. And it is relegation form if you take the form from the 6th of March, although it was title winning form if you take the form from at the start of the year. Ole Gunnar's popular. He's got a good coaching staff around him, and there's a belief that he knows what he's doing. He needs to be supported. He's under a lot of pressure, as anybody would be. It's a huge job for any individual person, and he tries to share the load. Got good people around him with Kieran McKenna, Michael Carrick, Mike Phelan. He's amenable with the media. He can be ponderous sometimes with the media, but I think he's a straight person. He answers questions. I don't think he's not built up a bank of credit where he can start manipulating media. I think he's just got to play a straight bat at the moment and speak well of players who he needs to be on side, because this is a United squad which, if anything, is lacking. He can't start alienating his players. He's strong behind closed doors when he needs to be. He's not a soft touch by any stretch. He was brought in and asked to lift the mood, and he certainly did that. But it all boils down to results. You've got to win football matches. It's that simple. And when you don't win football matches, this negative lens goes over absolutely everything. So if you're Jesse Lingard in your South Beach hotel and you're jumping around saying beans, 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 you just won the European Cup, there's no issue there. But if you're doing it when most Manchester United fans are fuming because of the terrible way that the season's finished, you're just doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. And Ole Gunnar gets that. He tells his players. He talks of the importance of being a Manchester United player. Mike Phelan does exactly the same thing. And there probably is a lack of leaders in that dressing room. If you look at the characters they had there in 2013, they didn't always get on. They'd fight with each other. The stuff which never got into the papers would be headline news. But you had really strong personalities, totally different from different backgrounds. Vidic, Evra, Giggs, Rooney, loads of them, 8 or 9 of them. And then go back the generation before that, and you had Keane, and you had a different version of Keane the next day, and then you had Roy Keane as well, and everyone else around him. That's lacking now. There are signs that Harry Maguire can be a leader. There's some very determined players there. But again, it's Manchester United standards, not unreasonably, are very, very high. Yeah,
and so say, and we're into if, buts and maybes here, but it's interesting to get a sense from you of where the Glazers are and where Woodward is. And we saw that, nobody knows if it's true or not. I don't know if you're an official lip reader, the Phil Jones Woodward thing, but that's been doing the rounds. If the slump continues, like on the one hand, increasingly the club hierarchy could become nervous about Solskjaer's lightweight CV, and obviously there would be the slump, versus really, I think probably an awareness even amongst United fans that they just don't want to chop and change another manager, that it upsets everything. You have to get used to a whole new ideology, and that would be reflected in transfers, and then you've got to give that more time. Allied to his legendary status, which must count for something. It's hard, you weigh up those two contrasting things, and it's hard to know how safe this guy will be if things were to career really badly over the next 5, 6, 7, 8 games.
They're both compelling arguments weighted against each other. I do think United have made the bed. They've got to line it now. I don't recall any complaints on the 7th of March when he was given the job permanently. He's got to be given time to do the job now. There's going to be bumps along the way. He said that. We've seen it already. We knew there were going to be bumps along the way. And if a team's going to finish 4th, they're probably going to lose 10 games in a season. Well, they've lost 2 already. Problem is if the team's finishing 9th or 10th, that's another different dynamic on it again if they're not playing European football next year. And I believe for this year, the Europa League is actually good for the progress of younger players who maybe wouldn't have played in the Champions League. Woodward is not popular. He's overseeing this. He's been the leading executive at the club. There's a scepticism about him. When he talks of bringing in a sporting director, and that doesn't happen, that makes fans even more mistrustful. The Glazers have never been loved. It's a takeover which should never have been allowed to happen. However, the club have still spent a huge amount of money in the last 6 years with them in charge. Yeah, this isn't the era of no value in the market as Manchester United pull out of paying 30 million for Karim Benzema. They've squandered money. They've wasted money. And most managers want money. Well, they've had it at Manchester United. You'll never find love from me for the Glazers. I don't think United need to be owned by anybody like Barcelona or Madrid. They're big enough. They don't need to be a soft power tool for a sovereign nation. Yeah. They're big enough as they are and hugely profitable. But when results go against the team, then the discontent rises among supporters, and it does so in many different ways because the fans are just frustrated. Yeah, it's deep frustration, and you'll get it today, Monday, and it'll subside a bit. Tuesday, Wednesday, beat Rochdale, someone scores a hat trick, it'll lift 10% again, and This is a cycle, and it's a pretty negative cycle. It's not Manchester United.
No, it's true. And maybe just a last point to finish on. And you've made the point before that when you go to Old Trafford, and we did see this under Mourinho and under Van Gaal. I guess Moyes wasn't there long enough really to see it. And now Solskjaer is. Old Trafford's a fairly patient place. You could argue these would be a fairly spoiled bunch who would be hopping out of their seats if they're not winning the league at least once every other year. But they've been very patient with each manager, in fairness, in the ground, whatever about the broader world of social media and fan TV and all that stuff. One of the things which I suspect really got them on side when Solskjaer took over was, you remember those first few weeks he talked about players running beyond the ball, let's at least score goals, let's play quote unquote the Man United way, whether that's a real thing or not. I happen to think there is something in it. And this had been after the fairly dull Jose Mourinho and Van Gaal eras. And I think there was a sense, almost similar to what's going on at Stamford Bridge, of, well, okay, look, we are not going to be title contenders anytime soon, but God, let's get back to being a bit fun to watch and scoring some goals and having a threat. And actually, gotta be honest, I wouldn't say many neutrals are looking forward to watching United just now. Even that initial selling point that Solskjaer brought seems to have evaporated.
Yeah, that's all true. And the mood is definitely different at games to online. It's totally different. The fans are supportive, they're patient, maybe to a fault, in that they'll back the person who they can see in real life 50 or 100 metres away from them. And Ole Gunnar will benefit more from that than most because of his legendary status at the club. But the fans are not stupid either. They want to be entertained. They work hard to pay for the season tickets. They're paying between £500 and £1,000, which these days is 500 and €1,000 to watch Manchester United. And if it's dull, it's dull. That's what did for Van Gaal. That's what did for Mourinho. The fans will not accept a defensive formation at home against Crystal Palace. And there are all these stats when Van Gaal was there of people who say, I sit in the scoreboard and I've not seen a goal at my end for 7 months. Just stuff it was funny. Yeah. And if the football's not entertaining, then the discontent will start to build. There's so many factors you can put into whether a manager stays popular or not. Yeah. And the club, little things like today, they're gonna look at bringing safe standing in. That's great. If the women's team are winning, that's great as well. But the results of the first team overshadow everything. If the team are playing well and they're losing, or they've drawn at West Ham yesterday, people will accept that. They're not expecting a league title this year.
Yeah.
And some fans don't help as well, because some of them, whether they like it or not, were only attracted to the team that were winning. And football teams do not always win. No team in history has always won. And this is the uncomfortable truth. Now is that the team has stopped winning. But in the 80s, when I started going to games, it wasn't a winning team. It wasn't a team that went close to winning the league.
Sure.
But I supported them.
Yeah. We'll watch it develop over the next couple of weeks and months. Andy Mitten, editor of United We Stand, and other publications as well. Thanks very much, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.